Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to monthly favorites. We're going to be looking at August monthly favorites and we're going to be diving into like all the things that were really awesome as we were wrapping up the summer and some of the things that were not so great. So if you wanted to kind of see how we structure this, what worked awesome within the planning and stationery world and my world, and what wasn't so great or wasn't so impressive, then you've come to the right place. And without wasting any more time, why don't we just get started? So if you're not familiar, the way that I usually structure these videos is I kind of look at the planners and planner systems. We talk about accessories, inks, and pens. And then we finally go into a little bit of the flops, a little bit of the not so great, the not so impressive, the not so it wasn't doing it for me. And honestly, I'm just going to say this with a slight disclaimer that if you love the products that I'm about to highlight, but they were not really working for me, it's literally just that. It's not an insult to you. It's simply just my opinion of how it worked within my own flow, but it does not mean that the product itself is bad. So I always want to make that disclaimer because I know that the way we feel about certain products really says a lot about us. And so I don't want you to take that as a personal insult because that's not really what it is. But it just simply means that the way that I was using it, it wasn't working well within my own workflow. Now, with that being said, why don't we just get started? First, we're going to be really talking about planners and planner systems. So the things that I really wanted to highlight for that really have shined for the month. So when it comes to planners, there were only a few that really like stood out for me that worked really great. And honestly, there's only a handful because I have really realized that especially as I'm becoming busier and I'm kind of shifting my focus of what I would like to create and what I would like to do moving into the fall, I'm basically planning on changing my roles within my own business. And so most of my energy for the summer, partially for July, and then the majority of August really went into both brainstorming and creation and flopping around with ideas. So it's both a messy process, but it also makes you really highly aware of what are the systems that are really not working for you. So with that being said, given that it was Hobonichi season, I thought that it would be only fair that I would bring out some of my Hobonichi planners. So I had the weeks and I also had the Hobonichi Hun, which I have right here. So I had the Hobonichi Hun, I brought it out. We will talk a little bit about it a little bit later, but as far as the Hobonichi weeks is concerned, I'm so glad that I kind of gave it another go because this was getting neglected because the way that I was using it up to this point was more, and yes, I'm realizing now that the cover is upside down. So the way that I was using it up to this point was more like my day-to-day on-the-go planner. And I think I briefly talked about this in some of my previous videos, where as I'm just using this as an on-the-go system, it's fantastic. I really love that I can add the decor. I really love that everything is compact and portable, and that is still very much true. Where this started to actually shine is when I shifted its function from day-to-day planner or day-to-day on-the-go system, because that role essentially got replaced. As you can tell, like there were some weeks that I wasn't really using it in July. So moving into August, it has definitely shifted where it's more of a functional layout, and I started really utilizing the back. I really started utilizing the note section where I'm writing down top priorities and I'm creating trackers and things like that that I really wanted to utilize. So all the way up to the end of July was very much like a day-to-day planner where I was using it more like a commonplace book. But the moment that I bought the insert from Traveler's Notebook, and I will show you which insert I'm talking about. So basically, as soon as I bought this 005, the diary, I started utilizing this so much more. And then I started writing out systems. I started using it pretty much daily. I did kind of fall off just like a little bit towards the end of the month, but I mean, like I carried through all the way up to the 24th, which is really nice. So because this was kind of fulfilling the purpose of the day-to-day check-in, and then obviously the weekly, which you kind of know about, the weekly is definitely fulfilling, you know, more of the creative outlet along with all of the other layouts that I like to do. This just becomes kind of like a really nice on-the-go system. Now, the only thing that I will say about this is that this generally stays home. Like, it's rare that I would take this with me, even though I find it compact. I don't know. I find it compact, but I kind of like this here at home more than I like it with me. So I usually use the Passport TN as an on-the-go system, which is quick enough and easy enough for me to just kind of check in what I'm supposed to be doing, or what appointments and things like that I really wanted to kind of like tap into. But I really love this insert. I think that this has really shifted my relationship with how I'm using this planner. So therefore, that leaves me with the Hobonichi weeks. It needed to get a new job because I'm not going to be duplicating things. And I really felt like for the past like 5-6 months, some of the information that the way that I was using these planners were really kind of duplicating things. So that was kind of getting me frustrated because I just felt like I wasn't really intentional with how I'm using my time, and it's almost like you're using a system for the sake of using it. So I'm happy that I changed its function, and right now it has definitely shifted more towards more like a business tracker, essentially. Basically, it's social media posts as well as anything online business related. So it's not really tied to my physical location. Like, it's not really tied to my brick and mortar business. It's definitely tied to anything and everything that I'm creating online. And I mean, this is not something that you will potentially see where I'm going to sit down and kind of set it up, but it's more for me to make it a functional tool. So I'm really happy to report that this is working really well. And honestly, like, I can still add the same decor that I did before, and it's totally fine. I don't know why I'm losing my voice, by the way, but that's something new. The other thing that has also shifted is the return of the Midori Hibino. I've been pretty intentional about just updating it more regularly, and because of that, it's nice when I can just add a little bit of decoration, but I'm not letting the decoration be like the main thing. It's actually me writing my thoughts down, and sometimes it's just free from writing. Other times it's just memory keeping, really. But it has been really lovely to really check in with this and then add the decor that I want, but more just having that space where I can really write out things the way that I want to without really adding extra filters. As you can tell, I haven't really done a ton in August, but I'm still adding it into the monthly favorites because this is when it made its return. So this is when I started kind of returning back into the 2-page daily journaling. And this is definitely one of those planner slash journals where it's enough space for me to, if I want to add like pictures and collages, I can do that, and I have the freedom to do that. And I don't feel restricted, but I also don't feel limited. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like the size itself is like so overwhelming that I just feel like I drown in it. So that has been nice. Don't ask me if I'm ready to jump in for 2026, because honestly, in a really big way, I realized that between September until at least October, November, I use this little bit of time for me to kind of figure out if I'm still continuing to use this, if I'm still consistent with it or not. And if I'm not, then at that point, I'm happy to just kind of let it go. But on the planners that I have been using for a long time, and I've been finding that, like, if I'm not really utilizing this on a regular basis, then I'm happy to let it go and not kind of drag it on and invest more money in a system that I'm not using. So hopefully that makes sense. But for now, we are back. I'm using it. I'm loving it. I'm making time for it. And I'm considering that a win. The other thing that I kind of hinted at a moment ago is actually the Traveler's Notebook. So I don't want to say nothing new to report here. I think I'm now that like my schedule is shifting for the month of September, October, and November. I think that this will kind of play a totally different role where I'm also going to have more long format journaling happening. So that I'm excited about. I like that I can kind of use different colored inks. I'm really planning on finishing this grid insert from Baumkuchen. So that would be really nice. And then obviously the weekly is going strong. I really like the weekly layouts that I'm actually doing here. It's really working for me. And then of course, this is definitely taking the cake where like I have enough space for me to kind of hash out ideas, write down priorities, do the daily planning if that's what I want to do. The other thing I wanted to kind of point it out that if you have this time sticker, I don't know what, it's like a washi tape with like time dots or like timestamps on it. Anyway, I tried one spread with this. So if you have this washi, this was from Sterling Ink. If you have this, it works really, really well in this planner in the Traveler's Notebook. So I just thought I would point that out. Moving on to accessories. For accessories, I don't have a ton of things to share with you, but I do have a couple. The main things that I have been actually enjoying is if you've seen my latest haul from Cloth and Paper, you've seen that I ended up getting these dot stickers. This is in a color ash, just to kind of show you a swatch. So here's what it actually looks like. I think it looks, so here it might not look like much, but moving into the fall, I think that this will be really, really pretty. I also obviously really love using it in my rings planner. We'll talk more about the rings planner in the coming weeks, just because I have big plans for that planner. That's why I intentionally didn't really mention this, because in the summertime, that wasn't like a planner that I was like on like regularly reaching for, but also my schedule was different, so we were more out and about. So now that I'm a little bit more home and everything kind of shifts into getting things done, I know that that's going to be coming out really soon. Now, as far as like decor is concerned, the other sticker set that I wanted to really mention with Cloth and Paper is obviously the lifestyle icons. I really love these. I ended up restocking it just because I find them so functional. But here is all of the icons that you can find there. So one is meals, laundry, cleaning, washing. I don't know, that's like a washing machine. So you have shopping, laundry, cleaning, appointment, meal, and delivery icon. So this looks like delivery. So again, I find this super functional because I don't need a ton, but then like they're just so fun. You know what I mean? So you have laundry, you have cleaning. So you get like one small sheet of each, basically. So I'm definitely going to be using this up because I end up using this on a pretty regular basis. The other ones that I have been really loving, and I don't think that I will ever like fall out of love with these. I believe these are like the moments from Mindwave. And even though they look about the same, moving into the fall, I think this will be really lovely. And then this is more spring, summer. I've been loving this in the summertime. These like mood-based ones, I'm trying to show you so that you can actually see the whole thing. These mood-based ones with the watercolor, you can never go wrong. And then like the small icons, but with the small icons, I have quite a few sheets. I've been really enjoying this actually. I just find that the colors and everything is very vibrant, and then it just kind of relates to anything and everything. This I pretty much used up, so that should tell you pretty much everything that you need to know. This was like a laundry or like a home-based one. Most of these are Mindwave, just so that you know, but here's the other version of this. So I had this home-based one, and then this is all laundry. And I mean, with the laundry stickers, it becomes a little bit more skewed as to where I end up using them. So hence why I still have some left, but I love all of them the same. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, like, as you can tell, like you can kind of sense like, you know, my style when it comes to stickers, where I kind of shift to sort of one theme and then I tend to stick with that. Will that change moving into the fall? probably because I like to switch things up a little bit. As soon as the season changes, I think the mood changes. And when the mood changes, I kind of want my themed stickers to also reflect that. But these were definitely really a hit for the summertime. And you've probably seen in previous hauls that I picked up one of these dot markers. I already have a couple of them, but I really like these just because they're so versatile, very easy and compact. These are from Midori. These are called the join dots. I like these, but I just have to kind of slow down whenever I'm using them. But I find that the ink payoff is excellent. So I bought a new one. This one is more like a cafe or espresso vibe. So you have like a darker orange, a dark brown, and then like a grayish, like a darker gray. So these are the color schemes that are kind of working for me. And then that's it for accessories. I don't want to mention too much because it's, it takes me a while to get through these. So, let's talk a little bit about inks and ink swatches. Given how light colored my sweater is, I was going to swatch all of these. I don't think I will. I will show you guys a swatch so you can see which ink I'm talking about. But for pens, let's talk about pens first. So for pens, these have definitely been winners in my books. One of them is the Uni one. This one has like that marble effect. This is in a color peony, and it says that it's medium. Now, I would say that this is a 0.5 ballpoint pen, so it writes a little bit thicker. This, I can show you a swatch of it. So I don't know if it's just because it has a new ink cartridge in, but here there's no skipping, there's literally no issues. Obviously, I'm going to mention this pretty much every single month. Sarasa 0.5. I have to show you the close-up of the actual pen. It looks so cute. So this is the Sarasa 0.5. They look almost identical in the way that they write, but I find the Sarasa to be just like a smidge smoother than the Uni one, but I like both. And honestly, what kind of gives me hope is also the collaboration that Hobonichi did with Uni. So I'm kind of curious to see how those pens will perform. Now, as far as fountain pens, the three that have been really winning me over for the month are basically the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, and this is in a Moroccan mint tea collection. So it has like the brown handle and then more of a burnt orange barrel. And, an oldie but a goodie. I'm calling it old, but really it's just like a year and a half old. So it's not like I've had it for like 20 years. Currently, she has more of a burnt orange color in there. I will just pop the name of it on the screen because honestly I can't remember. The next pen that I just recently returned to, and this actually goes hand in hand with an ink. So it's the Pilot Pereira. This is in a fine nib. In my opinion, this pen still writes like a medium. Like if you look at how thick this is in comparison to Sailor, and yes, I know some of you will tell me that Sailor is usually writes finer. I understand. I'm just saying that this is supposed to be fine. This is medium fine. And Sailors will always look like a fine to me, if not extra fine, but I digress. But the ink that is currently here, like this beautiful blue, is actually an ink cartridge that I picked up from Pilot in, ironically, in blue. Love this. I don't know. I think I'm just really having a moment right now with not having to refill the inks and just getting them in cartridges. Not only is it less expensive, no, I don't want to say less expensive. Not only is it affordable, but just the simple convenience of it, it really got me going. So I'm quite happy with it. But then the other pen that I wanted to highlight also that I've been loving, and I mean, this will come as absolutely no surprise. This is a Pilot Kakuno. This one happens to be in a medium nib. Again, this never writes as a medium, but I'll just show you. And the ink that you see here is actually is actually this. This is Pilot Irishizuku Fuyu Sayogan. So yes, we swatched it this way, but I wasn't planning on like actually drawing it out with the pen. But lucky for you, I actually do have the ink swatches right here, and it's on white paper. So the other inks that I kind of wanted to highlight, they all happen to live here. So one of the inks that I wanted to highlight that worked really great, and I do have the pen here, so it was loaded in here into another Pilot Kakuno, but I completely used it up, and it's literally just sitting here waiting until I fill it up with something new. It's actually from Diamine. It's a Diamine Shimmertastic, and it's called Lilac Satin. This is what I had loaded in that pen that I just showed you. Beautiful. It absolutely wrote stunning. I mean, the pen writes amazing with literally any ink I load in there, but that shimmering ink was definitely working for me. And the other one that I wanted to highlight, obviously, is from Sailor Kobe. It's called Sailor Kobe Nunobuki Emerald 13. That's this guy right here, and that's this color right here. So here's a nice close-up. Again, another stunning, like I think I just had like a moment in the summertime with like these turquoise colors, because they're both really beautiful for every day, but then they still make your spread look so fun and elegant and bright. So I've been really loving this. I mean, close second has to be Kuyaku from Pilot. They're so similar yet so different. This one has a bit more depth, as you can tell by the swatch, versus this one is a lot more brighter and it pops a bit more. The other one that I've been really loving, and I mean, I usually have a hard time with blue inks. As you can tell, I buy a lot of blue and they all work, but by the time you load it into your pen, it works different. So the one that I have is from Pilot Irishizuku, and it's called Aisai. And apparently I bought this before and I've talked about it before, and for good reason, because it's this beautiful cool tone blue. Again, in my opinion, you can't go wrong. But for adding a pop of color, I actually went back to Spadina Rose from Ferris Wheel Press. That's this guy right here. And I had this in one of my Sailor pens, and again, it got completely used up because it's this beautiful muted mauve. And now that I think about it, I think that this color would actually make a whole lot more sense to use it now in September, but I digress. We have new stuff coming for the month of September. And then last but not least is, this is from Pilot Irishizuku, and this is called Fuyu Sayogan. That's this guy right here. That's actually the one that I had loaded up in here. And this is what the actual swatch looks like. But then when you're looking at the way that it writes, it's just stunning. So, I mean, and there's not a whole lot more that I can say about this, is that like I would highly recommend this. If you're looking for like a darker, grayish, dark sky kind of a grayish color, like it's really beautiful, easy, very legible, literally no complaints. And I mean, this is an oldie but a goodie, and I will probably always highlight this, is the Kaweiko's Caramel Brown. I have a hard time letting go of Kaweiko's colors just because they're so easy and so versatile. If I could buy this actually in an ink cartridge, I would, because it would probably always be loaded in my pen, and it's just such a no-brainer color. So if you're on a hunt for just an easy everyday brown, especially moving into fall, I think earth tones are definitely going to be your best friend between like the browns and the mauve and the darker greens. Like it just, I don't know, it just does something for me. I really, really love it. The only thing that I would probably even get is more of a dark taupey color if I could find that. This is the closest that I could get. And now moving on to the flops. And again, I'm going to give you the disclaimer as I did at the beginning of this video. If you have these products and you love these products, please continue to love them. I'm just telling you my experiences with them, and honestly, for me, they were not doing it. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Rings Planner just for a moment. I'm only going to be highlighting two products here that, and honestly, it's not even that the product is bad, it's just it didn't do anything for me. I thought that it would be a good idea to try to return back to the cloth and paper sub box, just so that we can kind of reawaken the way that I'm using my rings planner. So the two inserts that came in the sub box, one of them is a meeting note and the other one is like a problem solving. Literally, it's called decision making insert. I will show you what they look like so that they're not like glaring at you. I know I will more than likely not use this. And so I'm adding this as a flop just because the way that I could make this work is if I completely rearrange the categories and then I can use it. I like the dot grid in the back and I like the large note section here, but I will not, like, to me it's just such a waste. And it was so disappointing just based on how much the actual box cost. Even though I love the box, but I did not like that for some reason, the inserts are just not doing it for me. And then the other one that we received was actually this one. It's called a problem solving one. The way that I was able to make this work is if I'm completely rearranging the entire set, and then I made it into more like a manicure tracking insert, where I would kind of write when I did my nail set, when I want to remove it by, and what was my inspiration and the colors that I used. And then this would last me for 3 manicures essentially, or at least 2. And then with the next step, like just kind of like takeaways of what I wanted to avoid moving forward. So if there's like either a certain product that was not working for me or a certain set that just really didn't work out, then I could kind of write that here. And then what my wish list is. So this works for me. The problem solving thing, it just, or, you know, whatever you're called. The decision making thing, I don't necessarily write pros and cons out this way. That's not really how my mind works, but I mean, I appreciate those of you that really love these inserts, and that's great. For me, unfortunately, it did not really work for me. The other thing that wasn't the other thing that wasn't really like being utilized, and I mean, I'm pretty much certain that I will probably not buy it again for 2026, is actually the monthly from TN. I tried to repurpose their monthly in multitude of ways, and sometimes it was working. Like in January, it was really great. And then by the time we made it into like August, it's completely blank. And then moving into September, it's not much different. I thought I would use it for finances, but it's honestly, it's too small for me to add in all the things that are like financially relevant. And then as a memory keeper, it's okay, but it's really not required. I can pretty much keep track of the same thing in the monthly, in the regular size. I don't actually need the monthly in a TN size. And then if I'm using this as an on-the-go system, then I know that I'm going to have the Hobonichi weeks as one of the on-the-go systems, and that already includes a monthly. So then this becomes redundant. And not only that, but then it becomes something that just kind of, I don't know, it just, I don't like it when it just like makes the system itself bulky. You know what I mean? So I think that I kind of struggle with that a little bit, where I don't want to keep buying inserts just for the sake of buying it as a whole set, where it's like, oh, look at me, I have the weekly and I have the monthly and I have the note section, when I know that that's not really what my needs are. So I know that this has been it's not a fail, it's just, this has been a bit of a flop, and also kind of getting my attention to, hey, just so you know, this might not be the best thing. And then the other thing that wasn't really working for me is, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, is the Hobonichi Han. Now, I know that you haven't really seen me really talk much about it throughout the year, because I haven't been using it. And I haven't been using it because I had a feeling that the paper quality would be an issue for me. So just for fun, I actually set up like a full weekly last week. So like the last week of August, I set up the full weekly. I use the same type of layout that I actually use in my take a note, just to see like, does this flow? Was it fun? And I also set up one of the dailies. Like, here we go. I set up the daily. Obviously the daily feels very familiar. I really like it. There's really obviously nothing negative that I can say about it. Weekly took me absolutely forever to set it up. And then halfway through, I started to see certain spots where the ink was just slowly started to kind of run a little bit. Not crazy. I think actually I noticed it here on the daily. Like if I get a close up of where I wrote gratitudes, it started to feather a little bit. Maybe that was just a pen. I don't know, but I just know that the size will always be an issue for me. At this point, I know I don't need like 3 or 4 different forms of journals for me to do memory keeping. I can just use one and maybe the 5-year one and call it a day. And that's totally fine. I think that, when you kind of reflect back on what your habits are and how you use them, and you realize that certain things don't work for you, I think the most fair thing that you can do for yourself is just to kind of make peace with it and move on, rather than keep repurchasing certain things because you have a loyalty to the brand. So I can still enjoy it. I can still admire other people's spreads. But if I'm not utilizing it and it's actually not solving any of the problems that I have when it comes to like either memory keeping or journaling, then it's time to let it go. And I know I'm probably not going to be using this for the remainder of the year. I just find it super time consuming. And it's not fulfilling the things that I'm really hoping it would. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I hope that you guys are spending some time on just really looking at and examining the planner systems that you're using and looking at it honestly to see, hey, am I using this, or is it just something that I've been buying? So I'm keeping this fairly short. Hopefully this is not me rambling on for 45 minutes. Yes, it is. Okay, this is basically all I wanted to share with you. Please let me know in the comments. Here's your question of the day. Let me know what are some of the planners, or like what is one thing that you have been absolutely loving for the month of August? I would love to hear from you. Please let me know and share it with me. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you have enjoyed it, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell, do all the things. And in the meanwhile, just keep planning, keep journaling, keep doing all the things. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye.